Chapter 2091, A Mistake. Xiao Dongliang had intended to meet his mother-in-law first before giving Ding Jiyi a surprise during the wedding. Who would have known that he would be shocked instead of being pleasantly surprised? After hearing Mother Ding's words, Xiao Dongliang had decided to simply act as though Mother Ding had never appeared for fear of hurting Ding Jiyi's feelings. Anyway, Ding Jiyi had already been prepared to not have any of her relatives present at her wedding. It was not that Xiao Dongliang did not have any opinion on Ding Jiyi's bias toward Xiao Zhaijun. It was just that Xiao Dongliang had told himself that Ding Jiyi had had it tough in the Ding family and had willingly married him to live such a life. As a man, he could not possibly treat his wife poorly. Afraid that Xiao Nan would be upset, Xiao Dongliang had secretly told Xiao Nan about this matter, hoping that Xiao Nan would be more understanding and would not argue with Ding Jiyi. After all, Ding Jiyi was the one who had given birth to Xiao Nan. At that time, Xiao Nan had been young and gullible. Hearing that she had a grandmother who would curse her own biological daughter, Xiao Nan had indeed taken pity on her mother, Ding Jiyi, as well. Besides, after seeing Ding Jiyi treat Xiao Zhaijun well, it was inevitable for Xiao Nan to want to perform even better so that her mother would like her as well. It was a natural reaction of any child. In her dream, this memory seemed to have been covered by a layer of fog and Xiao Nan could not even recall it. At that time, she had only thought that she could not possibly give Ding Jiyi a second chance to ruin her life since she had been given the rare opportunity of reliving a second time. As such, Xiao Nan had almost forgotten about why she had allowed Ding Jiyi to treat her in this manner up until the age of 40 in reality. In fact, she had no intentions of ever recalling the reason for that. After living through 2 lifetimes, Xiao Nan was finally able to gain some understanding of Ding Jiyi. Ding Jiyi was treating Xiao Zhaijun as her reincarnation and she would make sure that Xiao Zhaijun had everything that she had never been able to get in the Ding family. Xiao Zhaijun living a good life was no different from her living a good second life. While she had been in the Ding family, everything that Ding Jiyi had done was for the good of her 2 younger brothers. Now, she would reverse that situation and let the younger child do all the work for the sake of her elder child. If Ding Jiyi had inherited her temper from the Ding family, Xiao Zhaijun must have inherited Ding Jiyi's intelligence. Xiao Zhaijun was never an especially intelligent child, and given how much Ding Jiyi pampered her, her intelligence was seriously limited. Of course, it was because of such a low IQ that she had lived miserably for 40 years. Xiao Dongliang was asking her to take pity on Ding Jiyi and be understanding of Ding Jiyi. Then, who in the Xiao family would take pity on her and be understanding of her? Ding Jiyi's mom might not have treated her well, but Ding Jiyi had been no better toward her. Ding Jiyi was indeed Grandma Ding's biological daughter. Their tempers were like 2 peas in a pod. Although Grandma Ding had treated her daughter rather poorly, she had had much more courage and backbone than Ding Jiyi. Ding Jiyi had inherited only the worst traits from Grandma Ding without any of the good ones. Hearing Xiao Nan's analysis, Zai Sheng did not rebuke her. After all, that was indeed the impression he had of Xiao Zhaijun. There was no use in Xiao Zhaijun feeling sad about that amount of money. Ding Jiyi had to feel sad too. Forget about it. It has nothing to do with you anymore. Since Xiao Dongliang was already willing to say that, Nan Nan could simply treat this as someone else's story. Xiao Nan laughed. There was no way she would return to the same foolish self she had been in the past and carry all the Xiao family's burden alone. She had sacrificed almost half her life for the family only to receive the title of a wretched girl. It was more than enough to experience such a painful thing once in her life. The Xiao family could kick up a big fuss for all she cared. All she needed to do now was to live her own life and to take care of that baby growing inside her stomach. Now, Xiao Nan wondered if she had a baby in her ever-growing stomach, or whether she would have the same good fortune of having 3 babies at once. When the 4th month of her pregnancy arrived, Zai Sheng was no longer at home. Miaojing was advanced in age, after all, and it was inconvenient to get her to tag along for the prenatal checkup. As such, Xiao Nan had asked the auntie to accompany her this time. "Doctor, is the baby doing well? After the ultrasound scan, Xiaonan straightened her clothes and covered her stomach in case it got cold. From what I can see, the baby's doing very well. There aren't any major problems. The doctor replied as she continued writing her notes. Doctor, is it possible to find out how many babies there were? Xiaonan wondered if she trusted too much in the triplets, but she felt that her stomach was a little bigger than an average pregnant woman's at the same stage. 1. The doctor frowned. Do you want to know the baby's gender? It was only her 4th month and she was already in a hurry to find out the baby's gender. We're living in such an advanced society now. It doesn't matter whether you have a girl or a boy. There are many boys who aren't as caring and sweet as girls. The doctor who had done Xiaonan's checkup this time was different from the previous doctor. As such, she knew nothing about Xiaonan's status and which family she came from. All she knew was that Xiaonan was a little old for a pregnant woman and that this was a geriatric pregnancy. Most women only got pregnant at such an age because they longed for a boy. How many children do you have? When she had conducted her tests, everything had been normal. This is my first. Xiaonan answered carefully, not understanding why the doctor would pose such a question. Doctor, I don't want to know the gender of my baby. I want to know how many babies there are. Is it normal for my stomach to be of this size? Isn't it a little larger than normal? That was what she had meant. Knowing that she had made a mistake, the doctor was slightly embarrassed. Because of Xiaonan's age, the doctor has misunderstood that Xiaonan was the kind of woman who was intent on having a boy. The doctor had seen countless such cases. Every time she did an ultrasound scan, the patient and her family would always ask about the gender of the baby. Chapter 2092, Most Blissful. After a while, the doctor had become trained in checking on the baby's growth in the shortest time possible before ending the checkup. Even when the patients or their families asked about the gender of the baby, the doctor would always feign ignorance, saying that the baby's position prevented them from determining the gender. Knowing that she had misunderstood Xiaonan and that Xiaonan had no intention of finding out the baby's gender, the doctor was slightly embarrassed and felt that it was inevitable that she had behaved so unprofessionally because of her prior experience. I'm sorry. Why don't you lie down again? I'll check it again. Don't worry. This won't have any impact on you or the baby. Thinking back to the ultrasound scan, the doctor did indeed have her suspicions. It was just that she had determined the health and growth status of the baby at the fastest speed possible before ending the checkup earlier on. Since Xiaonan wanted to know how many babies she was carrying instead of the baby's gender, the doctor's attitude immediately changed for the better. To put it bluntly, nasty patients could file a complaint against her if she did not comply with such a request. Hearing that she would need to undergo another check, Xiaonan was confused. We're not done. The doctor rubbed her nose. I think it's better for me to do a more detailed check. Can I ask if there's any history of multiple births in your family? Often, it was hereditary. After Xiaonan lay down and heard this question, she was a little awkward. I'm not so sure. Quite a few of my relatives passed on quite early. Xiaonan was unsure if her paternal grandparents had ever had such a history, and neither had she ever bothered to ask about it. As for the Zai family, she was sure that they did not. Oh, all right. The doctor did not press her any further. After all, she might hurt the pregnant woman's feelings if she were to probe any more. Oh. The doctor remarked as she conducted a more detailed scan. Hearing the doctor's voice, Xiaonan looked nervously at the doctor. Doctor, is something wrong with my baby? Didn't you say that everything was fine just now? It was normal for a pregnant woman's mind to run wild. Compared to her dream, when she had given birth at the age of 20, she was indeed old now. Besides, she had not been well nourished in her youth, and as such, she was much skinnier than she had been in her dream. Her health was not as good, and she was even older than she had been in her dream. Given her circumstances, Xiao Nan could not help but worry if her health had a negative impact on her baby. No, don't worry. Don't get too emotional either. You're pregnant and your emotions will affect your baby. Don't worry. Both you and the babies are doing well. The doctor sighed. Thankfully, she had done a more thorough check. Otherwise, she might really have faced a complaint if the next doctor found out about this at the next checkup. Then, she would have to bid farewell to her career as a doctor. It was all because of those families who favored boys over girls that she could not even do her job well. That would not do. She had to adjust her attitude and sort out her emotions. If she were to continue in this manner, she would not be fit to be a doctor. The doctor was thankful that she had encountered someone like Xiao Nan to guide her back onto the right path. She had chosen this career because she was truly passionate about it and loved bringing new lives into the world. Babies. Xiao Nan's ears pricked up. That proved that her suspicions were right. Doctor. How many babies are there? The auntie was taken aback too. After working in the Zai family for so many years, she had seen many other families give birth to kids one after another. Even after the state had relaxed its laws on having a second child, most people had only one child with every pregnancy. No one in the quad had ever had twins. She had never expected that the Zai family, who used to be childless, would become the first and only ones in the quad to have twins. That would not do. After the doctor was done, she had to make a call and inform the chief and his wife about this piece of good news. She wondered if Madame Zai would faint from happiness after hearing about it. I've checked it several times. There are 3 embryo sacs in your stomach and I also heard 3 heartbeats. Congratulations! You're going to be a mother to triplets. The doctor had been in this line of work for a long time, but this was only her second time encountering such a situation. I know you're happy about it, but you ought to know your condition well. You're already 40 and this is your first pregnancy. Thankfully, you're in quite good health. But you should still know that you'll have a harder time than other pregnant women. 3 children mean triple the happiness, but the danger. It was already dangerous enough for young and strong women to give birth to 3 children at once. The pregnant woman in front of her was already 40, no less. While she was happy for her patient, the doctor was more concerned. It was not easy to give birth to even one child. Now that she was carrying 3 children, the process of childbirth would definitely be arduous, not to mention the whole pregnancy process. The children are still young and small now, but the weight of your stomach will increase as they grow older. Then, it will be a great burden on your waist and hips. Multiple births also have a higher risk of the children being born prematurely, so you have to be careful. If possible, I would advise that you be hospitalized once you reach the 7th month of your pregnancy. Normally, pregnant women already felt uncomfortable with only one child. Now that she was pregnant with 3, the burden was unimaginable. Do you mean that she has to be hospitalized once she enters her 7th month? The auntie's ears perked up, afraid that she had misheard the doctor. 3 children meant triple the joy, but also triple the danger. Knowing that Xiao Nan was the Zai family's beloved daughter-in-law, Xiao Nan's life mattered as much as the children's. The Zai family would never give up the mother for the sake of the child. That's all right. I understand. Thank you, doctor. I'll take good care of myself and the babies. We'll definitely be healthy and safe. Xiao Nan let out tears of joy and her tears flowed uncontrollably. In that instant, Xiao Nan was on cloud 9 and she could not help but feel that she was the most blissful person in the entire world. Chapter 2093, Crazy. She had gone through what she had in the Jiao family and had been tortured at the hands of Jiao Zijin and Ding Jiyi because of God's arrangement. Her life was changing for the better because she had endured through all that. No amount of suffering could compare to the joy of the 3 children's arrival. It was great. The triplets were back. The father was still the same father, and the mother was still the same mother. Even the 3 babies didn't change. The family of 5 would finally have their reunion. Don't cry. The auntie was in a frenzy. The doctor said that your emotions will affect the babies. You're carrying 3 babies. It's good news that others can only dream about. Don't worry. You and the babies will be just fine. She would do her best to ensure that Jiaonan and the triplets were well taken care of. Indeed. Pregnant women shouldn't have such great fluctuations in their moods. But it's understandable. It was not because she favored boys over girls, but these children were indeed very important to Jiaonan since she was finally giving birth at the age of 40. The doctor did her best in telling the auntie everything a pregnant woman had to take note of, especially for a patient carrying multiple children. The auntie was diligent and immediately took over the role that Zai Sheng had played the previous time, meticulously copying down every word that the doctor said without fail. After that, the auntie treated her notebook like a precious baby, putting it safely in a compartment in her bag. Be careful and walk slowly. I'll support you. Don't worry. I'm strong. I can support you. At this moment, the auntie turned all her attention to Jiaonan, afraid that something would happen to her. She seemed to be protecting and supporting only one person, but it was actually 4 people altogether. Jiaonan, who had bawled her eyes out, sniffled and took careful steps. Don't worry. I won't be stubborn about this, but I'm really fine. The children and I are all fine. Her triplets were back for her and brother Zai. At the thought of the triplets, Jiaonan could not wait to rush home to prepare their clothes, shoes, beds, and their nursery. Her sons and daughter. By the time the auntie helped Jiaonan back home, Miaojing had already been standing by the door, waiting anxiously. Everyone in the quad had heard the news that the Zai family's daughter-in-law was pregnant. As such, it was not out of the norm for Miaojing to be so anxious. The Zai family had waited for this child for a long time indeed. But there were others who laughed at the Zai family. Every family's daughter-in-law got pregnant and gave birth to children, after all. It was just a child. Why were they acting as though it was such a big deal? Thinking about how Jiaonan had neither a good family background nor good education qualifications but had become the daughter-in-law of the Zai family nonetheless, there were many who felt upset. Apart from having better in-laws, Jiaonan could not compare to their daughters-in-law in every other way. However, those who felt that way dared only to think about it inwardly. They dared not voice their thoughts out. Why? Because the only thing that they thought that their daughters-in-law were inferior to Jiaonan was them as in-laws. Ayo, Sister Miao, you don't have to be so anxious. Jiaonan is already pregnant. Your grandchild won't run away. He. Jiaonan was only 4 months pregnant and it was hard to say whether it would be a girl or a boy. The Zai family might not have a grandson, but they would definitely have a grandchild. Then, those neighbors would have something else to trumpet over the Zai family. When that country bumpkin, Jiaonan, gave birth to a girl, they would have a good show to watch. Miaojing might be old, but she was no fool and was not entirely ignorant about what the neighbor was gossiping about. Miaojing had not forgotten that that neighbor's son was a soldier too, and they had wanted Zai Sheng to help their son out several times, but the Zai family had always refused them. That was probably why that young man had made Zai Sheng his target and had always tried to surpass Zai Sheng. Miaojing thought that there would truly be something wrong if such a fledgling kid was able to win against her own son. The chairman once said that women hold up half the sky. It doesn't matter whether it's a granddaughter or a grandson. We'll love them all the same as long as they're ours. That's true. The neighbor smiled sinisterly. It was true that the Zai family was in no position to care whether their grandchild was a girl or a boy, since they had waited so long for a grandchild in the first place. If the Zai family knew their place and had certain standards, they would never have let such a woman marry into their family, bringing down the name of the entire quad. You're back. Miaojing could not even be bothered to entertain her neighbor. They were about to welcome a new life into their family, and her neighbor's son would never be able to surpass her own son. These people were only sour that the Zai family's lives were getting better by the day. You're back. What did the doctor say? Seeing the auntie supporting Xiao Nan, Miao Jing tried to take the auntie's place and stay by Xiao Nan's side. Didn't I tell you to let me know what the doctor said immediately? I was anxiously waiting at home the whole day. That won't do. I'll accompany you to your checkup the next time. I might be old but I'm still strong. She knew that many of her neighbors in the quad looked down on Xiao Nan's family background, laughing that she had ruined the reputation of the entire quad. It was such a joke that they still had such old-fashioned thoughts and ideas in such an advanced society. It was clear who really let the name of the quad down. The auntie was upset at being scolded, but she understood Miao Jing's worries. She had behaved in this manner the first time she had become a grandma too. Madam, I've been taking care of Nan Nan all this time. I didn't even let her out of my sight for a second. Seeing how the auntie and Miao Jing treated Xiao Nan like a fragile vase, protecting her like bodyguards, the neighbor was stunned. Miao Jing must be crazy to pamper a countryside bumpkin like that. They were all women and had all gone through the experience of pregnancy. She did not believe that the Zai family had treated Miao Jing in this way when she had been pregnant at that time. But Miao Jing was not at all afraid of spoiling her daughter-in-law. Was she not afraid that her daughter-in-law would climb over her head in the future? Now, the neighbor was sure that Miao Jing had a hole in her head. Chapter 2094, Presents. After hearing the auntie's explanation, Miao Jing agreed. You're right. Since you guys were on your way back, a matter of a few minutes wouldn't matter much. So, what did the doctor say? Are Nan Nan and the baby all right? They should both be fine. In this 1 month, the entire family had been reading up on how to take care of pregnant women and newborn babies. It was not at all an exaggeration to say that the entire family had been mobilized. Even Zai Yayawai, who wore presbyopia glasses, was always carrying a guide for pregnant women. Of course, apart from Xiao Nan. The one in the Zai family who had been assigned the most tasks was Zai Sheng. While he was at home, Zai Sheng had already finished 2 books, and before he had left, Miao Jing had stuffed another 5 books in Zai Sheng's bag, for fear that he would forget all about his homework when he returned to the military. Then, he might just forget about how to take care of Xiao Nan when he returned. As a husband and the child's father, Zai Sheng would not only have to master the skills of taking care of a pregnant woman but also those to take care of newborn babies. As long as Zai Sheng was at home, he would naturally have to take charge of feeding the baby or changing the baby's diapers so that Xiao Nan could do her confinement period well. At the mention of Xiao Nan, all of Miao Jing's anger subsided. The auntie laughed quietly before announcing. Madam, the doctor said that Nan Nan and the baby are both well. It's just that we'll have to be more careful in the future. When Nan Nan reaches the 7th month of her pregnancy, we'll have to send her to the hospital. Miao Jing stopped in her tracks. Didn't you say that Nan Nan and the baby are both well? Why would Nan Nan need to be hospitalized? What's the problem? Only pregnant women in poor conditions had to be hospitalized that early on. Because, the auntie smiled as she gazed at Xiao Nan's stomach. Because there are 3 babies in Nan Nan's stomach, the doctor said that there is a higher risk of premature births with multiple births. Nan Nan is not young anymore and she's carrying 3 babies at once, so we'll have to watch out. It's just a precaution for Nan Nan to be admitted starting her 7th month. Mom, Xiao Nan's expression paled. As soon as the auntie finished her sentence, Xiao Nan could feel Miao Jing's grip on her tightening before she was dragged backward. It felt as though Miao Jing was about to faint. Xiao Nan let go of the auntie's hands and gripped onto Miao Jing firmly. What's the matter, Mom? Are you unwell? Had she waited for them in the sun for too long? Had she gotten heat stroke? Xiao Nan was so frightened that her face was drained of all color. Miao Jing, who had broken out in cold sweat, shook her head. Nan Nan, are you all right? Did I hurt you? Is your stomach all right? No, I'm fine, Mom. My stomach is fine too. But Mom, are you having a heat stroke? No, 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 it was obviously not a heat stroke. She was simply overwhelmed with joy. Nan Nan, did the doctor really say that you're pregnant with 3 babies? Miao Jing's hands trembled, wanting to rub Jiao Nan's obviously showing belly. However, she did not dare to touch it for fear of alarming Jiao Nan's 3 babies. 3? 3. Jiao Nan smiled with pursed lips. Because this was not her first time experiencing such joy, Jiao Nan had already recovered from her shock. Jiao Nan retrieved the blurry and dark photograph that she had received along with the medical report. Mom, look! These are our triplets. It was actually a little difficult to identify the 3 spots. Thankfully, the doctor had already helped Jiao Nan with that in the hospital. Of course, Jiao Nan remembered it well since they were her children. Even with such an abstract photo, Jiao Nan pointed them out clearly to Miao Jing. Mom, look! This is De Bao, this is Er Bao, and this is San Bao. There are triplets. There were 3 embryo sacs and 3 heartbeats. This proved that the Zai family was about to welcome 3 new lives into their family. Ayo, our children! Our children! They're growing so well. They look just like you and Zai Sheng. They look so intelligent. I have to tell your dad about this. Wow! She was going to become a grandma. She was going to become a grandma to not just 1 but 3 children at once. Old Zai, old Zai. Our grandchildren. 3. 3, Miao Jing's voice could almost be heard throughout the entire quad. In fact, when the auntie had announced that Jiao Nan was pregnant with triplets, that neighbor, who had been sour, had been dumbfounded. 3. The neighbor glanced at Jiao Nan's stomach. She could not believe that such a skinny person could be carrying 3 babies in her stomach. She was good at bearing children. Triplets. They had such good fortune indeed. She could only dream on about having triplets. This lady, who had come from the countryside, might have been a little older and had low educational qualifications, but she was good at bearing children. That was a plus point. In less than an hour, the news had spread through the quad that the Zai family's new daughter-in-law was so impressive and had gotten pregnant with triplets. No matter how they felt about the Zai family in their hearts, everyone still maintained a good relationship with the Zai family on the surface. Now that the Zai family was having grandchildren, and having 3 at once, everyone had no choice but to congratulate the Zai family on the news and send some presents over for the children. After all, the Zai family had sent them presents as well when they had had grandchildren. It was only polite to reciprocate their kindness. It was just that even the most worthless things were expensive in today's society, especially products for babies. Of course, this was not their first time purchasing such items. Everyone had children in their families and there was no way to cut down on such expenses. The only thing that bothered them was that the Zai family was having 3 babies at once. It would not matter if they did not send anything, but once they did, they would have to send 3 sets of everything. The Zai family had only sent them 1 set of presents, whereas they had to send 3. Besides, products differed for boys and girls. How would they know which to get? Before long, the business of maternity shops in the capital was booming due to the Zai family's good news. Not only were there many people making purchases, but they were even making large purchases since they had to purchase 3 sets of everything. Such an event had indeed boosted the economy in the capital. In the blink of an eye, in less than a day, the Zai family's living room was piled up with all sorts of baby products and the entire ground floor of the Zai family's house was almost overflowing with presents. Mom, Dad, why are there so many things? Where shall we put them? When others had visited the Zai family to send their regards, Jiao Nan had never once made an appearance as the main character. After all, pregnant women were the most important, and because Jiao Nan was pregnant with 3 children, she was even more so important. Of course, it was not good for pregnant women to be caught in crowds. As such, Miao Jing allowed Jiao Nan to rest upstairs while the elderly couple dealt with the visitors. It's fine. It's true that we should pay more attention given our status. But it's only right to reciprocate kindness. Chapter 2095, Hereditary. It's alright as long as they don't go overboard with these things. Such a topic was a little sensitive, but since Jiao Nan was willing to think from the Zai family's perspective, there was no reason for Miao Jing to get upset. Nan, take a look. Don't you think these shoes are pretty? It'll definitely look pretty on our granddaughter. I'm thinking of getting a few pretty dresses when I go out the next time. Miao Jing had longed for Zai Sheng to have a child for the past 10 years. To be honest, Miao Jing truly did not mind whether the child was a girl or a boy. There were many people who wished that the Zai family favored boys over girls and would laugh at the Zai family once Jiao Nan gave birth to a baby girl instead of a baby boy. There was no way Miao Jing was going to allow these people to get their way. She had preferred daughters over sons even when she had been the one giving birth. Now that Nan was the one pregnant, she still liked girls. Even if the Zai family were to have 3 girls at once, she would still be happy about it. Mom, you have to buy a few products for boys too. Jiao Nan reminded Miao Jing as she thought about De Bao and Er Bao. She was going to have more boys than girls. They could not possibly have one of the boys fit into San Bao's dresses when they were born. Knowing that she was pregnant with 3 babies, Jiao Nan was certain that they were the same 3 children that she had had in her dream. Zai Yaowai lifted his head from his book and replied in a loud voice, "Buy it. Jiao Nan is right. We have 3 children. We should buy things for both boys and girls. We can't leave anyone short-changed. It's not like our family doesn't have money." Zai Yaowai, who had been raised by old Master Zai and Grandma Zai to be frugal, had said such a thing. It was indeed rare for him to be so open-minded about spending money. At the mention of spending money on food or clothes, Zai Yaowai would always say that they had enough and that there was no need to make unnecessary purchases. They did not lack money. Zai Yaowai had never said such a thing both times he had become a father. Miao Jing's smile widened as though a flower had bloomed on her face. Yes. We don't lack money. They're all my grandchildren. Could I possibly not care about them? You're making it seem like you're a good grandpa while I'm a bad grandma. Humph. The child had not yet been born, but old Zai was already fighting for the children's affection. Thankfully, they were going to have 3 grandchildren at once. Otherwise, she and old Zai would have to fight each other to death for their grandchildren's affection. Zai Yaowai eyed Miao Jing helplessly. The 3 children in their daughter-in-law's stomach had not yet been born, but he felt as though there was already another child in their family. His wife was always throwing tantrums and he always had to try to appease her. However, in front of their daughter-in-law, he had to maintain his dignity as her father-in-law. Coaxing his wife would have to wait until he returned to their room. Since the Zai family was about to have 3 new members, this good news naturally spread quickly. Very soon, Zai Sheng received a phone call. Unfortunately, Zai Sheng had not been available and had not been the first to receive the news. After thinking about it for a while, Jiao Nan made a call to Jiao Dongliang. "Dad, it's me." "I know." There was no way Jiao Dongliang would not recognize Jiao Nan's number. "What's wrong? Have you finished your pickled ginger? It's just as well. The batch of pickles that I made earlier tastes quite good. I'll send them over to you today. When you finish them, you can let me know and I'll make some more for you." Jiao Dongliang knew that Jiao Nan loved eating pickled ginger and that it was all right for pregnant women to eat pickled ginger. As such, Jiao Dongliang was diligent in making them. Jiao Dongliang could not even remember how Chen Feng looked when he was younger. Because the Chen family had controlled Chen Feng strictly, the Chen family had never allowed Chen Feng to visit the Chiao family before he had learned to walk and recognize his surroundings. But once the child learned to run and make trouble, he had too much energy for Jiao Dongliang to handle. Now that he was about to become a grandpa again, Qiao Dongliang wanted to know how Qiao Nan's child would look before the age of 1 and whether he would be able to carry his fragrant and tender grandchild. Dad, you don't have to work so hard. I haven't finished the previous batch of pickled ginger yet. Pickled foods were not as nutritious as fresh vegetables and fruits, after all. After that period of craving them, Qiao Nan no longer craved pickled ginger so badly anymore. Dad, I called to tell you that I visited the hospital today and the doctor told me that I'm pregnant with triplets. Really? Qiao Dongliang was so excited that he nearly knocked over the cup beside him. You're pregnant with triplets? Are you and the babies doing well? Knowing that Qiao Nan was already 40 years old, Qiao Dongliang was both emotional and worried. Qiao Dongliang knew that that meant a geriatric pregnancy. Did the doctor tell you what to take note of? I'm sure carrying triplets isn't easy. Yes, Qiao Nan did not hide anything from him. The doctor said that it's more likely for babies to be born prematurely in multiple births. I'll be admitted to the hospital as a precautionary measure in my 7th month. In her dream, she had been young and in good health. At that time, the doctor had advised her to be hospitalized in her 8th month. Eventually, she had preferred staying at home and insisted on only being admitted at the very last minute for childbirth. This time, however, Qiao Nan thought all about her children. There were some things that she could not afford to be as stubborn about as she had been in her dream. All she wanted was for her and the 3 children to be well. Qiao Nan had no confidence in carrying the triplets for a full term. It would not even be easy to carry them for 8 months. As such, the doctor had advised her to be admitted in her 7th month, in case she needed to undergo emergency surgery or whether she encountered any problems and needed immediate medical attention. From a medical standpoint, it was obviously dangerous for Qiao Nan to be pregnant with triplets in her first pregnancy, at the age of 40, no less. After getting an affirmative answer, Qiao Dongliang's eyes reddened. He felt extremely guilty toward his daughter and was too ashamed to face her. It was the Qiao family's fault that Qiao Nan and her children were being subjected to such danger. If Qiao Nan had gotten married earlier and had children earlier, she would never have been placed in such danger. It was much better to give birth while one was still young and strong. After a moment of silence, Qiao Nan finally spoke up. Dad, has there been any multiple births in our family's history? It could not possibly be a coincidence that she had had triplets in both her dream and in reality. Qiao Dongliang took a deep breath. Yes. Your paternal grandpa was a triplet. But you know very well the era that your grandpa lived in. In the end, only your grandpa was left to join the military. If your eldest and second great-uncles had not passed away, your grandpa would not have left his family and insisted on taking revenge for the family by joining the military either. Chapter 2096, Hip. As such, he should not have had no relatives at all. If his eldest and second uncles were still alive, the Qiao family would be no smaller than other families. Oh, no wonder. Her grandpa had been a triplet himself. That was why she had inherited it. Dad, will you come and visit me and the kids in the capital after I give birth and finish my confinement period? Her dad was the children's grandpa, after all. She had not mentioned Ding Jiyi because Ding Jiyi was different from her dad. Her dad loved the triplets, whereas Ding Jiyi could hurt her anytime. Because she had already led Qiao Zijin astray, there was no saying what Ding Jiyi could do to the triplets. Qiao Nan could not afford to put her children's lives at stake and would never place such a bet on Ding Jiyi. All right. Once you finish your confinement period, I'll visit you and the children in the capital. Qiao Dongliang sniffled upon hearing that. He had missed out on Chen Feng's childhood. As such, Qiao Dongliang could not wait to be part of the 3 children's lives. But Qiao Dongliang had dared not mention visiting Qiao Nan and the children in the capital. He was too afraid of Qiao Nan's rejection. He understood Qiao Nan and knew what could lead to Qiao Nan's refusal. After all, he had brought this upon himself. He had never expected that Qiao Nan would take the initiative to bring up the matter. As such, Xiao Dongliang was over the moon. Xiao Dongliang lifted his head toward the ceiling. When you go for your prenatal checkups in the future, do you think you can get someone to text me about what the doctor says about you and the children? Xiao Nan thought about it and knew that Xiao Dongliang's eyesight was similar to Zai Yaowai's. They were both presbyopic. Zai Yaowai still had the habit of reading the newspapers occasionally. As such, he had prescribed glasses at home. On the other hand, Xiao Dongliang had not gotten a pair for himself so as to save money. It would be quite a chore for her dad to read those small words in a text message. Dad, do you know about an application called Wixen? If you don't, you can ask someone to install either QQ or Wixen for you. I know that you have Wi-Fi at home. Once you register on QQ or Wixen, it'll be easier for us to communicate with each other and it's also free. Even if I can't talk to you, the people around me will be able to do so. Actually, Xiao Nan did not mind calling or using Wixen. They were all nothing but means of communication to her. But she knew that Xiao Dongliang cared very much about it. It cost quite a lot to make a call from the capital to Pingcheng. Xiao Dongliang, who could not even bear to spend money on presbyopic glasses, naturally cared very much about the telephone bills. Knowing Xiao Dongliang's temper, Xiao Nan suggested such a solution to him. In the past, Xiao Nan had been the one paying for the family's broadband. Ever since last year, however, Xiao Zijin had been the one taking care of it. After all, the only computer in the entire house was in Xiao Zijin's room and only Xiao Zijin alone used the internet. Xiao Zijin was the only one using the broadband, and since Ding Ji could not get in touch with Xiao Nan, she had naturally looked for Xiao Zijin when the bills came. For the sake of convenience, Xiao Zijin had withdrawn 2,000 yuan for Ding Ji so that she would not need to pay the bills every month. Since the broadband bills had already been paid, Xiao Dongliang could use the Wi-Fi freely without needing to fork out any extra money. I do. Xiao Dongliang was overwhelmed with emotions. He had already heard about these two applications a long time ago and knew that youngsters these days practically could not live without them. As an old man in his 70s, Xiao Dongliang was not ashamed to ask questions and sought help from a few of his colleagues' children to download the two applications and learn how to use them. Xiao Dongliang had done so in case Xiao Nan wanted to use these methods to contact him. Then, he might have to spend even more time trying to figure those things out. Now, Xiao Dongliang was pleased that his worries had not been unfounded and his efforts had not gone to waste. Nan, give me your QQ number or your Wixen code. I'll add you. Dad, you have them and know how to use them. Xiao Nan was taken aback. Most elderly people at Xiao Dongliang's age did not even have smartphones and insisted on using those old phones that had few and simple functions as well as deafening ringtones. She had not expected that Xiao Dongliang would be so hip and keep himself abreast of such technological updates. Xiao Nan skeptically sent over her QQ and Wixen codes to Xiao Dongliang in a text message. As someone in the workforce, these two communication tools were indispensable. Within 3 minutes of the text being sent out, Xiao Nan had indeed received the notification of Xiao Dongliang adding her to his close friends list. Xiao Nan accepted the requests without any hesitation. After that, Xiao Dongliang had even sent a smiling emoji to Xiao Nan, followed by one with a sleeping expression. Of course, Xiao Dongliang was not asking Xiao Nan to go to bed in the middle of the day, and neither did he mean that he was about to sleep. He had used this emoji to remind Xiao Nan to pay more attention to her health as a pregnant woman instead of always being on the phone, which had radiation. That was bad for Xiao Nan and the children, after all. After replying to Xiao Dongliang that she would do so, she switched off her phone. Xiao Nan might have switched off her phone, but Miao Jing's phone almost blew up from Zihua and Jiajia's calls. Can you guys calm down? You're calling me one after the other. I can't even pick up the calls in time. Aren't you and Jiajia together? Hearing the endless notifications as new calls came in, Miao Jing laughed as she scolded them. Zihua frowned. Jiajia was not at all honest. She had promised that she would focus on her studies and only visit the capital during her holidays, but she had called her grandma behind her mom's back. The next time she saw her daughter, Zihua would have to beat her daughter's buttocks to teach that girl a lesson. "Mom, you know that Jiajia has been longing to become an elder sister for the longest time. Do you think she won't go crazy now that she knows that she's going to be an elder sister to 3 children at once?" She's having an exam this week because they're going on their National Day holiday next week. Just watch and see how I'll deal with her if she doesn't do well in this exam. How can she still be thinking about looking after her younger siblings? Someone who doesn't enjoy studying and can't set a good example for her younger siblings is not a good elder sister. That was great. When she disciplined Jiajia in the future, she would have the perfect excuse to do so. "All right. You weren't much better than Jiajia when you first found out that I was pregnant with Zai Sheng." Chapter 2097, Reteach. A child whose height was only at her knee level kept saying, "I want to stay by mom's side and protect mom and my little sister." Upon thinking of how cute and silly Zihua was at that time, Miao Jing's heart softened. She was a just child. How was she going to protect Miao Jing? On the contrary, Zihua was too small-sized. Sometimes, Miao Jing was holding things in her hands and couldn't see her, who was following her by the side. She was even tripped by Zihua when walking at times. When she encountered this situation for the first time, Miao Jing was shocked. Thankfully, she didn't trip. Otherwise, she wouldn't know what to do. This matter happened so many years ago. When Zihua mentioned this again, Miao Jing decided to help Zihua remember the things that she had done when she was young, which were sillier than what Jiajia did. Upon hearing her silly past, Zihua couldn't help but feel thankful that her mom picked up her call and not Jiajia's call. If Jiajia knew that she had such a past, how was she going to put on airs as a mother in front of Jiajia and use the children in Qiaonan's stomach to educate Jiajia well? "Mom, you have to help me. Ever since I got a divorce from Weidai, Jiajia simply let herself go and lead her own life. It's getting harder to manage her. It's not easy to manage her now. As such, the things you just mentioned to me, especially the silly ones that I did when I was young which I don't remember but you do, must not be mentioned to Jiajia. Otherwise, I really don't know how to manage Jiajia in the future." Jiajia was obedient and didn't need me to manage her in the past. In the face of her daughter's changes and display of her true temperament, Zihua was naturally more happy than angry. It was just that in front of Miao Jing, her birth mom, Zihua inevitably became a little spoiled and complained to her mom how difficult it was to manage her daughter and how tough a life she was leading recently. Miao Jing naturally understood what Zihua meant and her heart warmed. "Don't worry. Would I, as your mother, not know how strong-headed you are since you were young? Regardless if it's for Jiajia or the triplets in Nan Nan's stomach, you're, after all, these children's elder. I'll save you some face. Moreover, I think Jiajia is pretty good. Her temper is exactly the same as yours when you were young. Don't nag Jiajia too much in the future. Jiajia is not easy to manage as she inherited this from you. Who asked Jiajia to be your daughter and you to be Jiajia's mom?" Miao Jing really felt that Jiajia's temper recently was too similar to Zihua's when she was young. Initially, when Miao Jing knew that Jiajia was a well-behaved and quiet child, she thought that Jiajia inherited more traits from the Wei family and was more similar to Weida rather than Zihua. However, when she thought of Weida's temper, Miao Jing changed her mind and concluded that Jiajia's character was influenced by Wei Xiaomei. At that time, Wei Xiaomei was still Jiajia's aunt. Miao Jing only treated Wei Xiaomei as a demure person. Under Wei Xiaomei's influence, Jiajia became more like Wei Xiaomei. However, following the exposure of the true relationship between Wei Xiaomei and Weidai, such a ridiculous idea in Miao Jing's mind disappeared completely. She never mentioned this to anyone else either. Thankfully, at this moment, Miao Jing could confirm that Jiajia was indeed a child of their Zai family. In the past, it was the environment that caused Jia to hide her truest self. Now, the oppressive environment was gone. Hadn't Jia showed her true self and let herself go? I don't care. You and Dad are the biggest trump cards in her hands. Jia said that she has to listen to me, but I have to listen to you and Dad, and the both of you treat her well. As such, between the both of us, she's the real boss and the person standing at the top of the food chain. Upon thinking of Jia's words, Zihua really felt angry and amused. When she heard Miao Jing emphasize that Jia's temper was exactly the same as hers when she was a child, Zihua couldn't help but wonder if she was so cheeky when she was young. Mom, you'd better not pick up Jia's call. This little girl is too problematic. Once she bugs you, you couldn't even think of hanging up the call. She could spend the entire self-study session talking. There's a monthly test this week. Let her calm down and take the exams well. If she couldn't even score well in her exams, how is she qualified to be an older sister? I won't let her play with the children Xiaonan gives birth to in the future. It was naturally a good thing that her daughter's personality was more open. However, when it came to studying, Zihua really didn't dare to relax at all. There wasn't a choice. Weida was the most vivid example placed in front of her. Didn't Weida eye her, the daughter of the Zai family, because he was lacking some ability and wasn't willing to work hard? Even if she was oversensitive and did have such hidden worries, she only wished for Jia not to be like Weida. She didn't want her to regret that she had done too little when she was young when it came to the time she had to showcase her abilities. Miao Jing agreed with Zihua's point of view. Don't worry. Jia is my birth granddaughter. I dote on her too. Of course, I believe that Jia is a child who knows her limits. I'm going to hang up soon. I won't chat with Jia much. I'll just tell her to study hard and then hang up the call. After ending the call with Zihua, Miao Jing hung up the call with Jia after saying a few sentences, just like what she had told Zihua. Jia was still a good and obedient girl. She had not completely let herself go. Upon hearing that her grandma cared so much about her, Jia hurriedly assured Miao Jing that she would definitely study hard and be a good role model to the younger siblings. After that, Jia hung up the call. She returned to the classroom and devoted herself to studying. Jia told herself that she had to score well in this week's monthly test. Otherwise, when she returned to the capital to visit the younger siblings during National Day, could it be that she had to tell them what a disappointing older sister she was, as she couldn't even score well in a monthly test? Zihua once shared with Jia how formidable Zai Sheng, her uncle, was. When he was young, he scored well in his exams. He even skipped grades in university and graduated with honors. After knowing how formidable Zai Sheng was, Jia considered Xiaonan's situation again. Jia knew that Xiaonan didn't have high academic qualifications. However, she didn't dare to look down on Xiaonan because of that, or think that she had low cultural standards. During that period of time when Jia stayed by Xiaonan's side, Xiaonan was the one who had tutored Jia for all her English homework. For those points that Jia didn't learn well in the past or had forgotten, Xiaonan gave Jia examples after looking at her homework and retaught Jia. Chapter 2098, No Balls. After that, Jia magically realized that after being taught by Xiaonan, those points that she had found it hard to remember in the past suddenly became easier now, and she no longer forgot about them. Jia said that the reason why she did so well in English in the middle school examinations, scoring a high score of 119 after deducting 1 mark from her assignment, was all because of Xiaonan. Based on this, Jia understood that although Xiaonan had low academic qualifications, she had a high IQ. Her cultural standards were also not directly proportionate to her education level. A person with low academic qualifications but high cultural standards like Xiaonan was actually more formidable than those with high academic qualifications but low standards. With such an outstanding pair of parents, even though the younger siblings weren't born yet, Jia believed that these 3 children would definitely become the 3 smartest babies in the world and they would have promising futures. In order to protect her dignity as an older sister, she had to take advantage of the opportunity that she was born 10 years earlier and acquire knowledge first. In this way, when the younger siblings were born and at an age where they didn't know anything, she could coax them and become the best sister in their hearts. After a round of notifications sharing such a great piece of news, Zai Sheng, as the father, was the last to know. When Zai Sheng received this piece of good news, he felt different. The soldiers under him were the first to realize this. What's wrong with the chief today? Why do I feel goosebumps all over when I see him smile? I remember the last time I saw him like this was when we were newly recruited to the team and were tortured. Upon thinking about the painful past, the veteran soldier covered his face. The past was unbearable and it wasn't worth mentioning. Wait. That means to say someone is going to be unlucky this time. It was nothing for the smile of a demon instructor to flash past. What was more important was that it was scary. Was someone going to be unlucky every time the chief smiled? He hoped that the unlucky person this time wouldn't be him. It shouldn't be, right? Isn't the chief married? Don't you think that ever since the chief returned from his recuperation, his temper became much better? The powerful combination of the yin and the yang is really something. I've long said that our chief just needs a woman to manage him. The chief's wife is really a noble presence. It's a pity that all along, we could only hear Xiao Su sharing how good a woman the chief's wife was. We didn't have a chance to see her for ourselves and could only listen to Xiao Su bragging over there. When he came back this time, Xiao Su became the most popular person in the army. Xiao Su even bragged that he could be considered as the matchmaker between the chief and his wife. If not for him, they wouldn't have met in Qingshui town. It's fine that Xiao Su didn't mention this. Once this was mentioned, Xiao Su suffered a beating and he couldn't retaliate. For what matter was he beaten up? It was naturally because of Chen Jun. At that time, Xiao Nan rented a house from the Su family. Chen Jun came knocking on the door, looking for trouble, and Xiao Nan's safety was not guaranteed. This was definitely Xiao Su's responsibility. Xiao Su nearly couldn't protect the chief's wife who wasn't the chief's wife then, almost causing her to get into an accident. This was Xiao Su's biggest responsibility. Who else should be beaten up if not him? It was also because of this incident that the chief successfully tricked the chief's wife back home for the new year and the two of them had a lot of time and interaction opportunities to improve their relationship. However, this was what Xiao Su should do. It couldn't be considered his credit. As such, it was inevitable that he was beaten. Chief. Xiao Su was confused as to why Zai Sheng called him over. After Zai Sheng completed his recuperation, Xiao Su naturally returned to the army as well. However, to Xiao Su, who had not returned home for 3 years, it was already a rare opportunity for the Su family that he was able to return to Qingshui town for half a year to accompany Zai Sheng. Furthermore, it was an important and glorious task to be able to accompany the chief and take care of him. Xiao Su was happy. However, after returning to the army, Xiao Su didn't feel that he was different from others just because of that period of time. He also didn't feel that Zai Sheng should promote him just because their relationship became better. After returning to the army, Xiao Su returned to his original position honestly. He treated the brothers in the army the same way as he did before. As such, when he heard that the chief was looking for him, Xiao Su thought that there were some issues with his recent performance in the army due to the lack of training for half a year and seemed particularly nervous. After Zai Sheng felt this, he smiled. Xiao Su couldn't help but hit himself. Don't be nervous. I called you over to give you a treat. A few months later, you even have red eggs to eat. Zai Sheng was really quite grateful to Mother Su for her decision to get Xiao Nan to take care of him initially. He was fated with Xiao Nan. However, there needed to be a person like Mother Su who bridged them together. Both were indispensable. Of course, Mother Su only interfered in this matter because Xiao Su was her son and she wanted to help her son resolve difficult work issues. This mother-son pair could be considered as his and Xiao Nan's matchmaker. If Xiao Su hadn't returned to report to the army back then, Zai Sheng would have invited Xiao Su to their wedding when Zai Sheng and Xiao Nan got married. Although Xiao Su didn't get to attend their wedding, Zai Sheng specially got someone to send their wedding candies to Xiao Su's family in Qingshui town. Red eggs? What's the joyous occasion? Xiao Su couldn't react in time. He had already eaten the chief's wedding candies. He also knew that the chief had sent a bunch of wedding candies to his home. However, hadn't he already eaten them? Why were there still eggs this time? Wait a minute. Red eggs? Chief, is our army going to have a small chief soon? Yes. Xiao Su's words were what Zai Sheng wanted to hear. It's all thanks to you and your mom in the past that I was able to meet Nan Nan. Now, Nan Nan is pregnant and I'm about to become a father. That's great. Xiao Su clenched his fists. He would see how those people from other districts dared to say that their chief was a man with no balls in the future. Zai Sheng didn't get married until he was 45. This was not just Zai Sheng's matter alone. A man at Zai Sheng's age was not only unmarried, but there also wasn't a decent woman around him. Qiu Chenxi had married Zai Sheng for 3 years and they didn't have any children. Qiu Chenxi cheated on Zai Sheng. Some of Zai Sheng's competitors deliberately released malicious rumors at the critical points of their competition. They said that the reason why Zai Sheng's wife cheated on him and why Zai Sheng chose not to remarry or have another girlfriend again was because he didn't have balls. Chapter 2099, Dutiful Son. Who didn't know that Zai Sheng worked extremely hard when he was young? Even the competitors who hated Zai Sheng could only concede defeat to him for the military merits he had built when he was young. However, compared to these merits, Zai Sheng had suffered more injuries from back then. These injuries didn't have eyes. They wouldn't know which parts of Zai Sheng's body they could injure and which they should avoid. As such, who could say with certainty that Zai Sheng didn't injure himself in that area when he was young and working hard and was still a normal man? To put it crudely, if Zai Sheng was a normal man and coupled with the fact that he was a soldier, his woman would generally not fancy other men after having tasted the fierceness of a soldier in bed. However, in reality, not only did Qiu Chenxi cheat during their marriage, but she even looked for men one after another after the divorce. It was as if Qiu Chenxi could easily find a man who was manlier than Zai Sheng who could keep her satisfied. Moreover, the two had been married for 3 years. Qiu Chenxi didn't even have a miscarriage, let alone give birth to a child. As men, his competitors naturally knew what kind of words would attack men more easily. Very quickly, these people mocked him by betting if Zai Sheng couldn't do it or that he didn't have balls. Once these disgusting words came out, they naturally didn't spread only within that circle. Every time someone from Zai Sheng's side performed better, the small soldiers from other companies or battalions weren't willing to take this lying down and would habitually talk about this incident. How would the soldiers under Zai Sheng be willing to admit that the chief whom they admired the most had no balls or couldn't do it? It happened frequently, but what use was there to argue verbally? They just removed their clothes and started fighting. As men, how could they gossip like women? People like them were the ones without balls. The army was a place with strict discipline. How would they allow such fights between soldiers? They wanted to fight, right? They had a lot of energy and didn't know where to vent, right? That was easy. Run 100 laps around the field. If 100 was too little, they could run 200 or 300 laps. They could even do 1000 sit-ups or 10,000 leapfrogs. There were a lot of such activities in the army. They didn't need to be afraid that there was nowhere to vent their excessive energy. Only the chief could let the soldiers go. Otherwise, they would just be as tired as dead dogs. No one was exempted from the punishment. Nobody could withstand such a large amount of physical training and corporal punishment. What was depressing was that people from other districts soon found out that Zai Sheng was vicious and the soldiers trained under him were similarly evil in nature. One would be afraid of such punishments after experiencing them once. The person who created trouble was afraid, but not the one who was provoked. Every time someone dared to speak ill of Zai Sheng in this aspect, even if Zai Sheng's soldiers knew that they would be punished again, they chose to fight. They did their utmost when hitting them, and all their punches landed in positions that were painful yet not obvious. After being beaten a few times, many people knew that the soldiers under Zai Sheng were not to be trifled with as they were evil in nature. As time passed, they dared to keep some words in their hearts but would definitely not dare to say them in front of Zai Sheng's soldiers. The fights might be over, but the words stuck in their hearts were not. Thankfully, all the problems could be resolved today. Who said that their chief wasn't a man? Who said that their chief didn't have balls? Their chief had a wife as well, and she was even pregnant. At this moment, Xiao Su was smiling like a fool. People who weren't in the know might have thought that the pregnant woman was Xiao Su's wife. Xiao Su smiled and said, "Chief, how many months is Sister Qiao pregnant?" 4 months. Triplets. Zai Sheng's eyes didn't waver and he didn't raise his eyebrows. However, anyone with ears wouldn't be able to ignore the happiness and pride in Zai Sheng's tone when he mentioned the word triplets. Xiao Su's eyes widened. 3. Yes, triplets. Chief, you're too formidable. The chief must have extraordinary abilities for the chief's wife to be pregnant with triplets. Chief, I'm going to share this piece of good news with our brothers now. Chief, you're amazing. Our chief's wife is amazing too. 3. If all 3 of them are sons, we'll make it big. Damn. The chief was the chief. To not speak unless there was something sensational was apt to describe people like their chief. There was nothing amazing about having children. Who dared to look down on their chief? It was either the chief didn't have a baby or he had 3 at one go. Whoever could compete with him should stand up and let them take a look. Without a doubt, after Zai Sheng spread this good news, he was immediately greeted with cheers. This was really a joyous matter. The appearance of the triplets was really a slap to those who used to say that there was something wrong with Zai Sheng's body. After Qiao Nan finished a call with Qiao Dongliang, she found out that her family had a history of triplets as well. With this point of inheritance as proof, Zai Sheng's triplets made him hold his head high in the men's world. As a child of someone else's family, they could only win against Zai Sheng in terms of having children. Now that Zai Sheng's triplets were arriving, Zai Sheng was once again promoted as the perfect child of someone else's family. As Zai Sheng's peers, most of them felt hatred. So be it. Their children had already grown up. In comparison, their family's children were born first and could take advantage of this opportunity first. What use was there to just give up? Yes, Zai Sheng was about to have triplets soon. However, they were competing in terms of quality, not quantity. If all of the children were good-for-nothings, the Zai family would have 3 more black sheep in the family. What was there to be happy about? People with such thoughts would order their wives to be strict with their children. They couldn't relax the slightest. They had to be serious in their studies and attitude and should be nurtured to be an elite among the elites. If a good-for-nothing was raised, causing their family to lose face, it was best not to let them find out. Otherwise, the first thing they would do upon reaching home would be to hit their children. Dutiful sons were products of the rod. They didn't believe that they wouldn't be able to produce obedient children via this method. As such, children of the 3rd and 4th generations who were born to officials of the 2nd and 3rd generations seemed to have fallen from heaven into hell. 1 second ago, they were still the precious ones in the family. The next moment, they became vegetables that were turning yellow. Chapter 2100, Fetal Movement. In the face of such a change, unless their attitudes were correct at the beginning, the children from these families would just be crying miserably. What was amazing was that many years later, people realized that in this circle in the capital, there were a lot of promising children of this generation. They became the representatives of Generation Z. As such, a certain amount of healthy competition was still required. The Zai family's triplets were not born yet but had already brought immense pressure to these older siblings, causing their lives to change drastically. Strictly speaking, this group of Generation Z children should thank the Zai family's triplets the most for not going astray. It was a pity that after the triplets were born and as they slowly grew up and realized the reason why their elders suddenly became so strict with them, they couldn't thank the Zai family's triplets. Instead, upon the mention of the Zai family's triplets, they gritted their teeth with hatred. It was fine that their pampered lifestyles were taken away after the elders in their families became agitated. But after they have grown up to become brilliant young talents, why was it that the Zai family's triplets had a more glorious image and once again became the children of someone else's family their elders talked about? This meant that their hard work and efforts since young had gone to waste. Could they give them a break and let them live so that they could play together happily? However, all this had yet to come. The triplets, who filled the group of Generation Z children in the quad up with hatred, were still sleeping and growing quietly and innocently in their mother's stomach. Bigger. It has grown bigger. Ever since then, Miao Jing's biggest interest and one of the things she did most every day was to look at Xiao Nan's stomach. She felt that not only was Xiao Nan's stomach growing bigger day by day, but it also seemed bigger in the evening than in the morning. Miao Jing could feel more clearly that there was going to be 3 more grandchildren in her family. Is your waist sore? Why don't I rub it for you? It's really tough for you. Back then, she was separately pregnant with Hua Hua and Zai Sheng. By the 7th or 8th month, the child had grown up and her waist felt super uncomfortable. Nan Nan's stomach. Just the thought of it and she felt terrible for Nan Nan. Xiao Nan glowed like she was a benevolent mother. No, the children are still small now. They aren't that heavy. However, after 6 months, Xiao Nan knew that her waist was going to suffer a lot. Mom, you don't have to worry about me. If I really feel uncomfortable, I'll definitely speak up. The last time I went to the hospital for an obstetric checkup, the doctor said that the children and I are all fine. Oh right, tomorrow is National Day. Aren't sisters Aihua and Jiajia boarding the plane tonight? Are their rooms ready? Before she was pregnant, Jiajia was the only child in this family and was naturally valued by all the elders in the family. She didn't know if Jiajia would feel neglected by the elders because of the appearance of these 3 children, as the elders' love and care would be divided to them as well. Upon thinking about this situation, Xiao Nan laughed out loud. Nan Nan, what are you laughing at? Miao Jing looked at Xiao Nan curiously. Xiao Nan shook her head. Nothing much. After getting pregnant, my memory is not too good. I don't remember what I was laughing at just now. In reality, did Xiao Nan really forget about it? No. On the contrary, Xiao Nan remembered it clearly. However, she couldn't say these words out. In her dream, Xiao Nan met Zai Sheng early and they fell in love early. She married Zai Sheng before admitting to university and she gave birth to triplets in the summer vacation of her first year. It was because she and Zai Sheng had married early that the triplets were the oldest among all the children born to Zai Sheng's peers. However, in this lifetime, she and Zai Sheng were married late. Zai Sheng's peers were long married and their children were about the same age as Jiajia. Even if they had married late, at least, their children were about to graduate from elementary school. How were they like the triplets in her stomach, who were still growing? It felt like the triplets were half a generation away from them. In the face of such a change from being the oldest siblings to the youngest, Xiao Nan didn't know how to face the triplets in the future. Thankfully, the triplets and their father didn't know there was such a story in between. Otherwise, Xiao Nan was worried that her triplets would fall out with her. They would complain why she and Zai Sheng gave birth to them so late this time, such that they became the youngest in the quad. Especially Jiajia, this child. The Xiao Bao in her dream was the triplets' follower. In reality, the three of them were going to be Jiajia's followers. Touching her stomach, Xiao Nan asked softly, "Triplets, you shouldn't blame me. Right?" It was unknown if they heard Xiao Nan's words. Xiao Nan had a small baby bump to begin with. The hand she placed on her stomach moved a little. Xiao Nan shivered. "Mom, the children moved." "The children moved? They moved? Really? Little precious, I'm your grandma. Will you say hello to me as well?" Miaojing couldn't wait to stick her whole body to Xiao Nan's stomach so that she could feel the existence of her grandchildren. It was a pity that there was only a bit of fetal movement. After waiting for a long time, Miaojing didn't feel anything from Xiao Nan's stomach. Zai Yaowai retracted his gaze and cleared his throat. "What's the hurry? It's only 4 months. It's normal that the children aren't actively moving. Wasn't it like this when you were pregnant with Zai Hua and Zai Sheng back then? You'll be able to feel them a couple of months later. Don't always lie on Xiao Nan. This way, Xiao Nan would have difficulty breathing." Most importantly, Zai Yaowai was worried that Miaojing would accidentally crush Xiao Nan's stomach when she laid on her. Zai Yaowai, as the grandpa, cherished the rare triplets in Xiao Nan's stomach as well. It was just that no father-in-law could get close to their daughter-in-law and feel how active his grandchildren were in their mother's stomach. Zai Yaowai had the image of a veteran cotter in the country. Even if his heart desired to do so and he envied Miaojing for being able to do just that, he couldn't. Zai Yaowai could only endure. Zai Yaowai told himself that it had already been more than 4 months. In half a year's time, he could directly embrace his warm, soft, crying, and screaming grandchildren. At that time, he didn't have to consider so much if he wanted to hug them. As such, he pinched his fingers and tolerated it. Half a year would soon pass quickly. On the other end, in the Chiao family's courtyard in Pingcheng, Chiao Dongliang was so excited that he couldn't control himself after hanging up Xiao Nan's call. It was as if he wanted to do something.